good morning. Happy Sabbath. Welcome back to a chapter a day. Today we'll be reading 2 Samuel chapter 4. Yesterday we encountered Abner, Saul's captain of his army. Saul is dead, of course, but Abner is still the captain of the army. And he has installed Ishbosheth as the king in Saul's place when he knew that David was supposed to be the one in charge next. And then when Ishbosheth reprimands him about going into Saul's concubine, Rizpah, Abner is not happy, and he decides to go to David now to kind of make a pact with David or an alliance with David to get the kingship from the rest of Israel. Because so far only Judah recognized David as king. So now Abner is going to plot with David to go against Ishbosheth now. So when he goes to see David, Joab, whose brother was killed by Abner, Asahel, remember when that young man who was light on his feet was chasing Abner at one time, and Abner turned around and killed him. So Joab, his brother, the brother of the slain man, is now saying, you let Joab come here and you know he's here to deceive you and you just let him walk out? So Abner, I'm getting so many names, so Joab and his brother Abishai, goes out to get to get Abner. My gosh. Joab and Abishai go out to get Abner because Abner killed their brother. So Joab takes him, he catches up with him, takes him aside as if he's talking to him, and pushes the sword into his ribs, and he died. And David is lamenting Abner because apparently he had a good relationship with Abner while he was in Saul's palace, I'm not sure. And he's pronouncing curses upon Joab, who I believe is his cousin, and Joab's household. So while he's weeping, the other people are weeping with him because apparently they love their king so much they're doing whatever he does. They agree with whatever he does. So let's see. But as I said yesterday, Abner got his just desert because he was a deceitful person. He was a snake. And David should be happy. I don't know if David knew what he did with Ishbosheth and what he did with Asahel, but I don't know. So let's see what happens now in chapter 4. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble, and all the Israelites were troubled. And Saul's son had two men that were captains of bands. The name of the one was Baanah, the name of the other Rechab, the sons of Rimmon, a Beerothite, of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth also was reckoned to Benjamin. And the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who lay on a bed at noon. Okay, so what's happening here now is that when the people of Saul hear that he is now dead, that Abner is now dead, they are a little afraid because now they don't have anyone to stand up for them. Who is going to be leading them now? So two of Saul's sons, Rechab and Baanah, are going to the house of Ishbosheth. I'm not sure for what. They also mentioned that Jonathan had a son by the name of Mephibosheth who was lame because of some accident that took place with him. So let's see what happens in verse 6. And they came thither into the midst of the house as though they would have fetched wheat. And they smote him under the fifth rib. And Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. every time they're smiting someone, it's always under the fifth rib. There must be something there. Maybe their heart is closer to the fifth rib. That's so interesting. That's the third time I hear it mentioned that someone was smote under the fifth rib. So here's what happened here in verse 6. Those two brothers I just mentioned of Saul's, those two sons of Saul's, went and killed Ishbosheth, who was the king, who was reigning as king then. Okay, let's see what next. Verse 7. For when they came into the house, he lay on his bed in his bedchamber, and they smote him and slew him and beheaded him and took his head and gat them away through the plain all night. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life, and the Lord hath avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and of his seed. And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said unto them, As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of adversity? When one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold of him and slew him in Ziklag, who thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. So David is telling them here straight up, hey, if y'all think you're coming here looking for a reward. So what they did, the brothers killed the other one, Ishbosheth, who was the king, and took his head off, took it to David, thinking that David would be so happy that now his other enemy from Saul's seed is dead. So he might have been happy with that, and maybe they were afraid, maybe being Israelites, they won't show, because the Israelites did not accept David as king yet. So maybe they are hoping that that'll give them some kind of heads up with David. So David is reminding him, hey, the last person that came here and told me they slayed Saul, I wasn't happy. He thought he was bringing me good tidings, and I would have given him a reward. So let's see what happens next. Verse 11. How much more, when wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house upon his bed? Shall I not therefore now require his blood of your hand? Take you away from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they slew them, and cut off their hands and their feet, and hanged them up over the pool of Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. Oh my gosh. Now, I'm saying they got exactly what they deserve. Again, I'm saying this, you know what goes around comes around. It's an old worldly saying, but it is so true. The things you do to other people, it comes right back to you. It might be a short time, it may be a long time, but you will be repaid for your wrongdoings. And this is what happened to them. They went and killed their brother because they're thinking to themselves, oh, now we can make a peace with David, because definitely David is going to be king now, because Abner is dead. We have no more leaders. Saul is dead. Jonathan is dead. Who's the leader of Israel now? So now they go to kill the brother to say, well, we're getting him out of the way, David. Here you go. We have prepared the way for you. But David was not happy with that. David somehow has this conscience. You just don't kill people because, you know, you want to, I don't know. But I guess maybe, again, he knew, I don't know. For David, David's whole thing is that he decides, hey, I didn't put this person in power. I have no right to remove them. And they are Israelites, you know, so they were not rewarded. As a matter of fact, they lost their life, just like the first one who made up that story about him killing Saul. Why do you do something so silly? You put your death on your own head. You know, they always have this saying. It's a worldly saying, but it applies. What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Abner saw the end of that. The first guy, as a matter of fact, the young man who came saying he slew Saul, and now these two, well, they didn't pretend. They brought their head straight to David and say, hey, look, we just killed him. But why would you do that to your brother? You go into your brother's house, kill him on his bed. Ah, mercy. So much for that. But that's the end of our reading of 2 Samuel chapter 4. A lot of slaying, and it's all from Saul's side. Saul's household is just, but we will keep on reading more about what's going to take place now that David is going to be fully in charge of the kingdoms of Israel. Let's see what takes place. So until our next reading, I pray you have a great weekend, especially if you work outside in the workplace. Rest today. That's what God said to do. Take it. God gave it to us. So until our next reading, take care. Remember to hear, because that's how we have faith. Bye.